Go. Okay, good evening to everybody. This is Jeff Berger, and I am dialing in from or interneting in from Cape Coral, Florida. Welcome to our Getting to the Root of It, series number 8, the microbiome and how that impacts type 2 diabetes. This is a monthly series that we run 2 times a month. And it's either the first or the third or the second and the fourth of Thursday evenings at 7:30 to 8:15, educating people and getting them acquainted with the microbiome, which is your gut-brain axis. And this is the new science that's out. It's a, we're in a trend here, and it's exploding because there's science and clinical studies that are showing and proving that pretty much everything starts in the gut. And we're going to hear more and more about this, and we're going to share more as time goes on. So with that, again, I want to welcome you all this evening. I've got Dr. Georgia Balsley on, a naturopath of 34 years, and would like to introduce her in a minute. I do want to say that, we're really humbled to be partnered with the first holistic mental wellness company, which actually focuses on the microbiome. And so again, it's the gut-brain axis. What I'm really very, very excited about is that our product line is really science-backed, clinically trialed, and plant-based, and we do have an award-winning product line. So, which is very, very exciting because we're really ahead of the game in many, many respects. And for those that are really interested, stay tuned to the end, and we can give you some more information. So with that being said, Dr. Georgia lives in Michigan. She is a vet, and I would like her to, and thank you for your service, Dr. Georgia. Tell a little, share with the viewers a little bit about your background and how you actually got into naturopathic medicine, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward, as this series go forward, educating more and helping people understand how the gut relates.
There you go.
So I decided to get into alternative medicine. Actually, I was a corpsman in the military. I worked in cardiac cancer and finished out in the emergency room. And I thought I would progress and go forward as a physician. I was actually looking into nuclear medicine or forensic medicine. And through some changes and shifts in having a family, I got involved in holistic medicine, which seemed to be or align with how I felt the body should be addressed. I'm not against traditional medicine by no means. We definitely need that. But I think that complementary or alternative medicine is a beautiful option to pair with traditional medicine. So I work at a functional physician up here in Michigan at Outside the Box. And my tagline for a lot of our patients is that our doc can do things I can't do. I can do things she can't do, but together we can do great things for our patients.
Awesome tagline. That's great. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, and for those of you who are joining us, we do have recordings of our previous videos. So, for example, in April we talked about leaky gut. May we talked about autism. In June we talked about anxiety, depression, and suicide. This month is we've got diabetes. We're going to take the rest of August off. We've got a big month coming up. And then in September, we'll resume with the baby microbiome. So that's going to be really, really exciting. So with that, as many of you know, there's been, and if you don't know, lots of articles in the newspaper, on the news, and on Facebook in regards to postings of the microbiome. Talking about a plethora of different autoimmune diseases that are impacted by the microbiome, diabetes being one, last 2 weeks ago, we talked about type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There's actually a difference, but type 2 diabetes can be reversed. And that's a little bit something we'll share later on in this through a testimonial. But with that being said, we talked about the differences the last time between the two, type 1, type 2, and the role of the microbiome, basically 101 in type 2 diabetes. And then we talked about some different protocols that people can actually start looking into to see if it would be something that they would be open to introducing to their lifestyle and addressing some of those things. So with that, the first question I have for Dr. Georgia is that, how does the gut microbiota, how does that really contribute to type 2 diabetes? And because we already know that there's 425 million people living with diabetes, and one of the primary risks mentioned about type 2 diabetes is obesity, overweight to obesity, and then it goes into morbidly obese. So how does that play into the obesity factor?
Well, your body mass index has a strong relationship to diabetes and insulin resistance, as well as most people don't understand pancreatic B cell dysfunction. So that extra weight can alter how that pancreas functions. Not to mention, we talk about the microbiota, and I have to apologize. Would you guess that my neighbor would decide to mow her lawn like right now? So if it gets too loud, just put your hand up and I'll mute it, and then we'll continue. I apologize.
You're good.
So, and these individuals have an imbalance of the microbiome because of excess sugars in their body. So the microbiome isn't as balanced. And so that's why it's so important to look at the microbiome in relationship to how the pancreas functions. But that body mass index is really critical. It's critical for a lot of factors such as sleep apnea as well. So, a circumference of 17 inches plus of the neck, you're a higher candidate for things like sleep apnea. So, and it increases more inflammatory responses. Therefore, you start seeing other issues start taking place, such diabetes, type 2 diabetes being one of them.
Wow. Lots of great stuff there. So how does the intestinal bacteria affect the blood sugar and the lipid levels?
Well, you need to remember that in our gut, we have 100 trillion bacteria, which differ from well over 1,000 different species. So when we have an imbalance of how those microbiome break down things, so researchers found that the influence of changes of intestinal bacteria, in fact, had a direct impact on sugar and lipid metabolism. And what's really interesting is that when you have an imbalance, they also produce things like secondary bile acids. So the breakdown of those fats, which are really critical. So when we talk about even breaking down of lipids, because fats are needed for so many things. Insulin is a hormone. So fats are needed for hormone production. What is predominantly our brain? It's roughly cholesterol. So the fats for repairing and regenerating the brain, fixing and working on the myelin sheathing of the nerves. And so breaking that fat down well is extremely important.
So it's interesting that you say the microbiota and the different, so that's the genome, all of those microorganisms, and then there's then the species. You break it down into species. There's different species, but I do want to note that we actually are getting to the strain level within the species of the genome, which is the higher level of that those 100 million microorganisms. So we're really at a layer 3 levels down where no other company is really focusing on that at this particular point, is my understanding. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. And so even in dealing with those species, like we talked in series 7, is that when we have an imbalance and we have too much of the wrong type of species, then we can produce what's called procytokines or inflammatory markers. So of course, when you start, in type 2 is a great inflammatory condition. I hate to call it great, but that is one of the top conditions for that inflammatory response.
And that could be also a direct result from having leaky gut.
Absolutely, absolutely. And more people than not have it. They think just
Right.
because maybe they might not have diarrhea that they don't have it. But people with constipation have leaky gut as well.
Exactly. Absolutely. The microbiome and the type 2 diabetes, where are we and where are we going to go with this, do you think?
Well, diabetes is really a highly preventable condition. I call diabetes, especially type 2, is it's it's a dysfunction not only of the gut, but it's a dietary issue. It really is, and how the body has shifted and changed. So several studies have reported gut microbiome dysbiosis, which we were talking about. Leaky gut is a huge factor in the rapid progression of insulin resistance in type 2, which accounts for roughly 90% of diabetic cases worldwide. So if we deal with the gut dysbiosis, the leaky gut that we're talking about, start changing our diet, exercise, making sure we get plenty of fiber, because that's been an issue, especially in America, as we don't get enough fiber. We eat a lot of high calorie, low nutritional content foods, and we could definitely shift it. And we see that just in starting to address people that come in and they may be even on insulin, start seeing their insulin decline, the insulin use decline. And so it's huge. And you see it actually quite quickly, because the body is really intelligent and it knows what to do with what you give it. And so helping to reduce that inflammation and reseed that gut so that the body can start functioning in a normal capacity.
Awesome. Yeah. And, you talk about the types of foods and the fiber. I'm going to go into that in a little bit later on, but key points in regards to type 2 diabetes really being a dietary controlled disease that can be reversed. And you kind of went into the gut microbiome targeting on the type 2 diabetes. So I'm going to go to the next question is, now we know that there's a ton of probiotics out there, and there's a lot of good ones and there's a lot of bad ones, and people are, well, how do I know what's good? And some have a lot more microorganisms, and some have less. So how do you balance the two, and what should people really look for in regards to their specific case? So, like, for example, somebody who's got diarrhea won't take this probiotic because it causes diarrhea, or vice versa with the constipation type of thing. So how do you help people to really look at what's best for them?
So we definitely want a product that has the science behind it, that is a multi-strain a product. So when we're talking about type 2 diabetes, oftentimes because of that gut imbalance, you'll start seeing things with diabetics such as anxiety. That comes along with their condition, or they're not sleeping well. Those different flora all come from gut bacteria, microbiota in there that produces chemicals such as serotonin and dopamine, so that the body can function, plus reduce the inflammation. So there's a lot of different probiotics in the market. You're very right. And some are shelf stable and some aren't, right? And so how do I take my probiotic? Which one should I get in? But you should get a combination. So I like to use a probiotic that not only addresses neurotransmitters, which we have that solution. We have that, the only one on the market that targets the neurotransmitter functions such as dopamine and serotonin, and then mix that with a multi-strain to help just reseed that gut well. And then we always want to make sure that the patient is using some sort of fiber, because certain fibers are foods for your probiotics so that you can proliferate well, and so that you can get a really good seeding. So, the general stuff in the store is pretty basic. The strains are pretty common for individuals with diarrhea. And so those people that use it might not get the same results that they're looking for, but we all need probiotics for certain.
Okay, awesome. I did come up with another question. There's probiotics that are in refrigerators, that are kept refrigerator, and there's not. And there's controversy on that the probiotics that are not kept in the refrigerator are not as good as what are kept in the refrigerator or refrigerated. Do you have any, what are your thoughts on that?
There are probiotics that are shelf stable and they do very, very well. We've got to think about even the probiotics that are in our soil, right? So, you know, we get flora off our food and it's not refrigerated. Some days it can be quite hot, and it's how it's coated so that it releases when you eat it. And so that's one of the things that we don't eat is we're not eating dirt anymore because we scrub everything and we sterilize everything before we eat it. So we're really missing some of those good flora that we should be getting from soil-based organisms as well. But that's the way I look at it. Is there a lot of really good products that are shelf stable? They don't all have to be refrigerated. And how they open in the gut, we just want to make sure that it gets past the stomach into the intestines, you know, where we want it seated.
Right, and that's, yeah, you just said that because it passes through the stomach and gets into the gut, which is in the small intestine, which is where it's really needed first, and that's where the gut comes through. So,
and those are Jeff, those are pH driven. That's another thing you need to understand is that, you know, the acidic part of our body is our stomach,
right,
and so they activate within a certain pH. And so once it passes the stomach, it now becomes into more alkaline structure to where those microbiome can start proliferating.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great. That's great information. Super. So we're coming up on the top of the hour here, and now it's time for the testimonial. And I am your testimonial tonight. So I'm going to share, what I want to do is I want to share a couple of stats here. We talked about, excuse me, we talked about this earlier. And I've mentioned this before, some of this stuff, but you know, there's articles out there about type 2 diabetes and how that this is the black death of our times, because we used to think of diabetes being our grandparents. Well, it's not our grandparents anymore. It's our you know, it's us, not our grandparents or our parents. And what's even more scary is it's our kids, because there's more obesity in kids today than there ever was. Because when I was growing up, you know, I was outside all the time playing, and I was out in the dirt and running around and doing this. We didn't have, you know, cell phones. We didn't have Xbox and stuff like that. So we were outside, out and about, and always active. Today, kids are not as active anymore. You know, that's declined. So that really has an impact on somebody's health. So, and right now it's the third leading cause of death today, and they're anticipating it's going to be up to number one leading cause of death within the next about 25 to 30 years, which is pretty astonishing. 90% of the population is predicted to have leaky gut. They don't even know it. And that's scary because this just leads to a plethora of other autoimmune diseases. And again, the diabetes is really an offshoot of obesity. You know, as we start gaining weight, leaky gut, start gaining weight, inflammation, that leads into that. But what really scared me the most, and the more I did the research that I did, because you start out with type 2 diabetes, and here are some of the causes, and it's progression as you go through the stages of diabetes, because you know, you start out with low numbers and then you increase to hundreds, 200s, 300s, up to 900s of sugar, and I think it's in the 900s when you go into a diabetic coma, right? Yeah. So, but there's blindness. Lower limb amputation. That was my father, lost his leg, lower amputation. Kidney failure, death by stroke, heart disease. My father has heart disease. And, you know, so, and it's the leading cause of Alzheimer's. So that's kind of the progression. There's some other things that are, but those are the top ones that I've come up with through some of my research. But today it's predicted 1 out of 2 people today predicted to have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
So this is something that is really scary, and it says that the stats are 70% don't know it. And diabetes and obesity is accompanied by depression, shame, and isolation. All right, which is that's horrible. So reversing type 2 diabetes. So my story, I basically, we all have excuses. That was, and when I was in my 50s, my doctor said, well, you're maintaining your diabetes. Just don't overdo it with sugar and kind of maintain weight. And I was doing okay, but then I would be up in the 200s. And then I would say in the last 3 to 5 years, I just noticed that I was getting tired and I was foggy and wasn't feeling good. Just not my usual self, because I'm always on the go. I'm going 24/7. That's just me, because I figure I'm going to be 6 feet under for a long time. I want to get stuff in now. But I'd say in the last 3 years, I've noticed that decline. So when I found out about and got involved with the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is when I really started to do some more deep diving. And I found out that I could reverse my type 2 diabetes, and I never knew that. So I was really, really angry with my doctor, and went in there and said, look, I'm reversing my type 2 diabetes. Or I said I want to go down to 5.0, which is the A1C, which is, one of the major factors of getting off of your medications. And she said, well, why do you want to do that? I said, because I want to come off my meds. You never told me that I could. You say you're managing at 6.2. Well, that means I got to stay on my meds for the rest of my life. I'm on metformin. It's killing my gut. I'm on statins, which leads to, Alzheimer's and all kinds of other diseases. I'm a walking pharmaceutical here. So I said, either you're going to help me reverse my type 2 diabetes, or if you're not, if you are, great. If you're not, then that's fine too. I'll just go find somebody else. So I took the bull by the horns, and I got into a program called B3, Body Brain Biome, learning about the microbiome. And the Project B3 is a program that basically it teaches what's called SENSE, SENSE, supplementation, exercise, nutrition, stress management, and then there's an evaluation. And I've actually done it 3 times. It's a 2-month program. I've done it 3 times, meaning 6 months, because I've lost 55 pounds. I've got 10 more to go. I'm pushing on that last 10. And my sugars have, really my what you call them, the fasting sugars, which you do in the morning. Used to be up in the 300s, are now down into, between 85 and 100 to 110. Maybe every once in a while it's up to 115, but that's better than 300s. And now the next thing is to, get it down to 85 to 100 and keep it below 100 as much as I can, and then come off of my, my meds, which, I'm on 2 meds right now. And which is not a lot, but it's still enough to, mess up your gut and develop other things down the road if you don't come off of them. So what I really learned from this is it's a lifestyle change. We have been eating so much crap that is in boxed foods, in canned foods, what we're eating in restaurants like fast foods, McDonald's and Burger King, all of those things. These are foods that are basically slowly killing us. But on top of that, through research, finding out about Monsanto, Roundup, and glyphosate, and Monsanto was purchased by Bayer. And glyphosate, for those that don't know, it's a herbicide that is used to kill bugs on your on your plants and your corn and your soy and your wheat and garden stuff. And come to find out that Monsanto patented Roundup, which is basically glyphosate, was the patented antibiotic, which is a chemical that they inject into the corn and soy to ward off insects and kill them, but whatever they don't eat and that's killed off, who's eating the stuff? But we are. So you know what? I look at the timeline, and this all started in 1974. And you take this over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you see the progression of disease just multiplying, and it's getting worse. And these companies are not held accountable. Monsanto owns 69 food companies, and I'm talking Healthy Choice. I'm talking about Butterworth and some Hershey products, and I could go on and on. That's in a post on Facebook that I did. Glyphosate is found in 80% of the feminine hygiene products. We wonder why we have the cervical cancer that we do today. I went through the roof when I read that. I was like, oh my God. So these are things that we, as humanitarian entrepreneurs, we want to share information. We want to just really educate people to really get an understanding of what is going on out there, and understand what you're really putting into your mouth, because it used to be you are what you eat. It's now you are what you digest, because a lot of people aren't digesting anything because it's just going through and not being digested properly. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'm going to unmute everybody here. And what I'd like to do is turn on the videos for you guys. Tiffany, you could turn your video on. The others, we got phones. And Pamela, if you want to jump in on your phone, you're more than happy to. So please do that. You're going to have to unmute yourself. I'm trying to unmute you and I can't. So what I'm going to do is, for right now, I'm going to stop the recording, and or no, I'll leave it on for Q&A. Let's leave it on for Q&A. So Dawn or Tiffany, do you have any questions for Dr. Georgia? Or myself? I mean, Pamela. I said Dawn. Pamela and Tiffany.
I'll jump in. I have lots of questions, but I guess when you're talking about diet and then type 2 diabetes, what would be one of the first things that should be changed when someone's facing that diagnosis, as far as their diet specifically? Is it the fiber, or the probiotic, or is it just healthier choices throughout the day?
So what I'll jump in and say what I've got to say, and then Dr. Georgia can jump in and follow up. But what I've done is I've removed all boxed foods and all canned foods. I've gone basically plant-based, but I've also incorporated the salmon and whitefish and white organic chicken. I'm really careful on making sure that the meats are not, that they're safe. When I say fish, it's wild caught salmon and wild caught fish, not farmed fish, because they're all pumped up with steroids. Okay, meats. Right now, I don't do any meats. I'm off of red meat at this particular point, and maybe I'll be off of it for the rest of my life. And I never really ate a lot of meat. Filet mignon was my favorite. But there are some organic farms around here that they're grass-fed cattle. Maybe down the road I will, but right now I'm focused on reversing my diabetes. I want no meat. And then, of course, bringing in the fiber and the essential oils that are needed for the fatties, for the omegas and things like that. So that's what I've done. And I fast in the morning, and then for afternoon I do a protein shake. It's a chickpea protein shake, and I used to do fruit, strawberries and blackberries and raspberries, which is low glycemic for diabetics, but I stopped doing that, and what I'm doing now is parsley, European cucumber, and lemon, and I put that in, and it's more of with the greens and the vanilla protein powder, and some other nuggets like hemp seeds and things like that, which is really good. That's my lunch, and then a salad for dinner. That's what I've changed, and that's really helped me bring my weight down, but also on top of exercise. I've done aggressive exercise with biking and walking. So, Dr. Georgia.
Just a second. I got to let my neighbor pass.
We can't even hear her.
You can't hear her?
No, we can't hear her.
Oh, wow. Wow. She's
good.
On a rider, it's quite loud. Yes, I totally agree. Refined processed foods, we take all our patients off because there's no nutrient value and it creates a lot of inflammation. So we don't want to create more inflammation for the patient. We want to reduce it. Plus, they need to start to be nutritively fed. So when you have additional diagnoses on top of diabetes, it's really critical that the body is being nutritively fed. I love your idea, Jeff, of your English cucumbers and lemon and I can't remember what you said. The other thing, I think parsley, which parsley is amazing for the kidneys, and cucumber is extremely hydrating, and then you've got lemon for the liver. And so food, I love Hippocrates because he said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food, right? And we were designed to get nutrients and things to be able to repair from our food. But if we're not absorbing, that's a huge issue. So I would definitely encourage you to start with diet. The high carb things are not going to make anyone better, and start shifting that eating plan over. And then I would definitely start working on the gut. So definitely reseeding. Fiber is huge because when you have sugar issues, I mean, they've actually call issues like Alzheimer's, diabetes of the brain, or type 3 diabetes, and helping to collect those poisons as well as sugars and helping to eliminate those from the body.
And Tiffany,
so
no, go ahead, finish.
Those are definitely two places I would definitely start first.
Yeah, and what I've known or what I've noticed with what's really happened with my diet and my change is I don't crave the sugars like I used to, because I wanted the ice cream before I went to bed. I wanted the ice cream when I woke up in the morning, and I've noticed that I don't crave that anymore, which is really good, So that's a huge help, because I was the first one at going to the restaurant. The first thing I looked at was the dessert menu, and that would be picking the dessert determined on what I would eat for dinner, because I wanted room for dessert.
Right.
That doesn't. Right. Now I cook everything at home. We cook everything at home.
Okay.
Well, and two, Jeff, the cravings come from the imbalance in the microbiome, and that imbalanced flora trying to want to survive and feed itself.
Exactly.
So definitely changing that microbiome will help with those cravings.
Right.
Okay.
That was one. Go ahead. Is Pam, do you have anything? She's on mute.
No.
Pam, I just unmuted you.
Yeah, Sarah, okay. I just unmuted myself too as well, but that was awesome. I couldn't write fast enough. I was taking so many notes on all that you said, but I'm at, Jeffrey, where you started, I think. I don't show any signs of diabetes yet, but it's my grandmother, it's in my family. My dad's been diagnosed with it, and he just got diagnosed with it, but he was huge into health, and I think he was able to keep it off because my grandmother died of it, and my grandfather, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's, but I keep hearing that Alzheimer's is the type 3 they're calling it now type 3 diabetes.
That's correct.
So far, my sugar, but I'm overweight, number one. I'm disabled, so I've not been able to move as much. But anyways, I have to go where you started and start from there. So all the things that Dr. George has said is all true. I've read it all. Sometimes it's just doing it all. Right. But I'm curious too, the products now. I'm brand new, so I'm not familiar with any of them. But what products would be beneficial I just ordered the fundamentals, and I got it in the mail, so I'm ready to start that. But which products would you recommend that I start on to get my gut, the biome in balance here that I've got going on.
Well, you would basically, so you got the fundamentals and you got the free reboot with the fundamentals.
Yes, I did.
Definitely do the reboot. And then
okay.
The fundamentals, you're going to do all 3 products. You're going to do the Mentabiotics, the MentaFocus, and the MentaSync. And,
okay.
You know, the MentaFocus and the MentaSync, MentaFocus and MentaSync are capsules, and the Mentabiotics is a powder. And you can put it in, you know, like almond milk or water. Hopefully you're not doing juice. And
no.
unless you're doing a protein shake, if you're doing a protein shake, you can put it in your protein shake. I put it in my protein shake. And that's what, because I'm doing the B3. So yeah, definitely start with the fundamentals. That will kickstart your gut, get rid of more of the bad bacteria and give you the good bacteria. And then I'm going to let Georgia, Dr. Georgia, respond. But let me ask you this: you say that you're disabled, but are you able to at least get on a stationary bike at all?
Yes, I can get on a bike. I injured my back, which then went to my feet. So they've operated many times on my feet, and then it went to my knees. So I'm disabled in the fact that I was a runner, and I can no longer run at all. I was an exercise freak at one time, and I just kind of hit a wall, and I've just gone downhill. So of course the excess weight came on, and it's so hard to lose. I'm 65, so I'm fighting the weight, and I wish I could say that I'm a perfect eater. I'm not. I'm kind of hot and cold, kind of. I'm good one day, then I'm bad the next. So, but I'm scared to death of sugar. I'm just so afraid of the diabetes. Yeah. And I know that I'm heading that way if I don't do a complete turnaround, which is what you've done. When I heard you say 50 pounds, I said, wow, he's me. This is me right now.
Right. And
so I know there's a reason I'm on this call.
Right. So then, no, that's great. That's great. So with you having issues with your feet and your knees and your back, at least if you can get onto a stationary bike, that's going to bring up your metabolism and get your body going, your heart and the blood flowing. And what I did is, when I started back in January, I could only ride my bike 15 minutes. I was like, I couldn't believe it, because I used to be a track runner in gymnastics and swimming and all those kinds of things. I used to dance professionally in New York. I had no problem. Wow. But it's a lifestyle change, as I said earlier, and you do it gradually. So now I'm up to riding anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour a day, plus walking an additional half hour, because I want to get into doing over between sometimes between 5 and 15 miles a day. And that's what's really helped. And just do it gradually. Don't get frustrated. Just take each day. If you got to do it by, start out 15 minutes for the first week, and then increase it to 20 minutes, and then 25 and 30, and just incrementally do it, because you will definitely lose it.
I'm actually starting to swim, which I find when I'm in the water, people say it's so funny to watch you swim. I've always been a swimmer, but when I get out, of course, on the cement, it's hard to walk because of my feet. Right. So I'm like two different people. But I love to swim, so I've been trying to swim laps is what I'm doing.
That's good. Dr. Georgia.
Yeah. The other thing, Pam, I would encourage you to is, when we talk about diet, changing your eating style for life, the refined processed foods, and going on a more anti-inflammatory eating plan, because people do not put food with pain.
Okay.
And so when you start adding things into your body that creates inflammation, it enhances your pain levels. So it'll affect how your joints move. It'll affect how your muscles feel. It'll affect your overall energy. And so definitely focusing on that. So when you start bringing more whole foods in and eating more anti-inflammatory with the position you're in right now, I would encourage you to do that. You'll start seeing a lot of shifts there too, which will be very positive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've actually kind of started. I really have. I do love to read, and I do research a lot, and it's stuff that I know. It's just doing it and implementing it it's hard. I think sometimes I'm an emotional eater. So if I don't drink and I don't smoke and I don't do all that other, so if I get nervous or upset or anything, it's like I go to food. It's become my medicine almost. And that's what's got to stop. And I noticed with my fibromyalgia, which I told you, doctor, I had, that's probably a result of all the surgeries I've been through. And I notice if I eat sugar at all, it just makes me ache even more. I mean, it really feeds the arthritic conditions. It feeds the fibro and everything. So I'm trying very hard to stay away from sugar altogether. Or I at least look at the label, and if it's 4 or under, I feel that that's probably okay. Is that true? Try to stay under 4 grams.
Grams? Yeah, when we put people on an anti-inflammatory eating plan, we actually put them with 20. Oftentimes, it's kind of a plant-based keto type eating plan. We want them around 20 carbs, so it's really, really low.
Okay, so actually, the keto I'm very familiar with. I thought possibly about doing that one, but I was going to check with you first to see if you believed in the keto. We
do in our office. We have what's called ketotarian, which is more plant-based, because keto on its own is not a healthy eating plan. It's a lot of processed foods. Well,
that's what I thought. Bacon, steak with fat. They're telling you to eat. I'm going, I'll balloon up if I do that.
Yeah, it's not a healthy lifestyle in a long run. So this is more plant-based, including things like salmon, like Jeff is eating.
Okay.
Because, and we want the fresh caught, not the farm raised, because the fresh caught they're higher in omegas. They don't have all the hormones that have been added to it, so that they can move it on through, and antibiotics and things like that. And it's creating more of a lower inflammatory diet and feeding your body more plant-based, but putting those high good fats in, because we need to understand that even as we age, we really need good fats so that we can protect our brain, protect our nerves, and balance out our hormones, which are driven off of fat.
I actually, is it MTC? MCT oil? MCT. I use that. I even put it on my dog's dog food, but I use that a lot. I've been using that for months, but I definitely spend a lot of time at the health food store buying all this stuff, but protein shakes and all kinds of things. So I'm on the right road, and I'm swimming now, but I certainly have a long way to go. That's for sure. But I'm just so tired of not feeling well. I don't feel good, and I hate that. That I used to be so energetic and high energy, and now I think the weight too. You get ashamed of yourself and everything. But I'm just not feeling well. And I'm so tired of it. So I'm ready to make a complete change for sure. That's why this business couldn't come at a better time for me. And, but I got in because of my admiration for you, to be honest, Dr. Georgia. I've had this, honestly, I just can't wait to meet you at some point. But from the one time you talked to me on the phone, ever since then, I said, this is one lady that's really someone I want to, you're an amazing person. And just very, 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 very blessed to know you. So thank you for that.
Also, if you decide that you would like to get involved, or anyone on the call, in the B3 project, that happens with Dr. Sean, and there's weekly get-togethers like you can follow online, and so that also gives you a chance for some accountability there, as well as learning why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes. In fact, I was on a call last night. It was great. That last night, I think I tried to contact you because it was after the call, because it was short, because Pam, a girl, wasn't I don't know, she wasn't there or something, but she was supposed to speak. But yeah, I'm trying to find out. I called corporate today, and she sent me a link for a lot of things that I said, I'm like a sponge. I want to learn. Just teach me. And so she said, I'll send you, her name was Daniela, I think, Daniela. And she sent me a whole bunch of links to start watching. So that'll help me great. But I'm just a person that I want to believe in the products. I want to use them. I want to order as much as I can afford it, of course. But I want to use the products so I can certainly, it's so believable when you believe in your product. You've been, 8 months on the products, Georgia?
10.
10 months, okay. And
yeah, Jeff as well.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff as well. 10 months. Okay.
Yes.
Because I know this company's only about 3 years old, right? It's fairly new.
No, it'll be 2 years in September.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought she said 3 today. Okay. But it's still very young on the ground floor, right?
Yeah. I mean, they formed the company in 2016, but they evolved it, and then they went 2018. In 2017, September of 2017, they did a pre-launch, and then January of 2018 is when they actually officially launched.
But this is stuff people just don't know about this. I mean, I honestly don't think if I said microbiome to anyone, they wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. People don't really know this stuff. This is cutting edge. I mean, this is, so that's why I just want to learn everything that I possibly can. And of course, through my own use and so forth. That's why I said, which products, they all look great, but which product should I concentrate on first so I can become a believer and be able to show people, look what I've done
Start with the fundamentals, and then
okay.
And then, I would recommend, but you talk to Dr. George about that, because she can direct you in that aspect of it. But my recommendation is for people that I'm working with is go with the launch pack. If you're serious about really cleaning your gut and working on your brain and getting that overall well-being sense, then you have to incorporate all of the products, because now, except that we do have kids products, so forget the kids products. Those are for children. But each of the products focus on specific neurotransmitters within your gut to aid in gut and brain health. And we've got digestive, we've got more probiotics, we've got protein powder, we've got greens, we've got seed fiber. And we've got omega and GBX vitamins, Vita GBX, which is vitamins. There's over 50 minerals and vitamins for the gut-brain axis, specifically for that, on top of sleep and mood and energy, all kinds of stuff. So, and Dr. Georgia will help you with that. But
okay.
We're basically...
I'm only on, for fibromyalgia, the only thing my doctor gives me is, it's called amitriptyline. And I'm trying to get off that, because if I don't take my pills at night, I can't sleep. I'm staring at the ceiling, and I hate that feeling. I don't want to be on any prescriptions. So if I could get off the amitriptyline, then I won't be on any medications whatsoever. So that's one of my goals, to sleep better. But you said the launch package. What did you mean by that? What is the, is it called the launch? Yeah.
It's called the launch pack. Well, let me do this, Pamela. What I'd like to do is I'm going to wrap up the recording here.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody who has come on and watched, and I'm going to put it on stop, and then we can continue. So thank you all. The month of August, we're not doing anything. We'll resume in December. No, we'll resume in, I'm thinking Christmas. No, not Christmas. We'll resume in September, and that's September 12th and September 26th. Baby Microbiome Part 1 and Part 2. So, and as I always leave, remember #poop matters,